Welcome back to another edition of the Pitch Putt and Puff podcast. My name is Roger, aka RGB. Just want to take a quick second and give a shout out to a couple sponsors here. First and foremost, we got 420 Bliss located at 740 Hoosick Road in Shore, New York. Make sure you stop in there, check them out. They got everything you're looking for: flowers, edibles, pre-rolls, vapes, disposables, you name it, they got it. Make sure you let them know the Pitch Putt and Puff crew sent you. A new sponsor I'd like to give a shout out to is a former guest, my man Marty from Trouble Off the Tee. He's been taking real good care of us lately. So he hooked us up with 2 promo codes. I got one, anything on the site, 15% off. Use promo code RGB. Now, this one's pretty dope. Polos, buy one, get one. Limited time. Use promo code PUFF. You get a buy one, get one. They're some really nice polos. I actually have one right here. Show off a little bit. The two-tone. Real good quality. Nice dry fit material. Fresh on the course. But tonight what we're going to be doing is going back to the golfer gang. Going to bring in a couple guests here. Part of the network for Golfer Gang episode number 4. I'd like to introduce Gibby. Is it Gibby or Gibby?
Gibby.
All right,
we got a lot of names.
Gibby and MP from One Night in Pinehurst. What's up, boys?
What's happening, man? Thanks for having us.
Really
and we're back, RGB. It feels funny being on this side of the aisle.
I know this is our first guest appearance. I think.
Oh,
is that right, Gib? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, we've just been grinding out episodes, and we never stopped to see if anybody wanted to ask us any questions about our incredibly boring life.
No, man, that's what I'm trying to do. Working with the network, I've had I had Mulligans and Hackers on. I've had the Bumble and Golfer on, and of course the Upstate Golf guys. They're convenient. They're right down the street. I see them every week anyway.
Sick.
So
those guys are in your group. Are they in your Sunday group you were telling us about? The 8?
So no, they're my fill-in guys. So if I'm able to get, I get a primetime tee time, 9 a.m. He hooks me up with 2. If there's a possibility of getting a 3rd, and those guys, so what they do is it's a golf week tour. So every week
they travel around. Yeah,
they travel around. I get taken care of so well at my home course. I'm not going anywhere. Right. There's no point. There's absolutely
I was thinking about this today. Somebody sent me something on Instagram where they've created. I don't even know what it's called, but it's basically it's a club you join where you get access to courses all over, and they get you on. It's not a novel concept, but memberships to a country club, I don't know that I can ever get there because I don't know that I'm willing to just play one course, and that makes me feel like I'm definitely in the minority. I kind of like to play 2, 3, 4 different courses, and I feel like if I'm a member somewhere, I know you're there for the tournaments and the camaraderie, but I don't feel like I'm going to get any actual value for my money, which makes it hard for me, which I know is not the point of it, but
right.
Yeah.
See, the way I look at that is I get taken care of so well with if I can call up and get a tee time at any time, pretty much.
Convenient.
The convenience of it. It's close to home. It's all that. It's also a pretty challenging course for the most part. So I started up only 6 years ago, and I started out.
Nice.
I was a lefty baseball player. I had no lefty clubs. Taught myself to golf righty.
Yeah.
So the slow process of seeing myself shoot 125 to 120 to 115 now in the 80s. At that same course, I'm seeing progression, so I want to continue to see that.
Yeah.
And where I'm at, where I was.
Well, there are those holes too, right? That are the backbreakers. You're like, oh god, just get out of here with a bogey.
That's it.
Or even a double bogey on some of those holes, and then you get frustrated on the holes that play to your strengths, that you end up bogeying or double bogeying those, and it's why? That's my par hole, or that's my bogey hole.
Is it safe to assume that as a former baseball player, you, much like me, had a problem coming over the top when you first started playing golf and you sliced everything?
Everything. Let alone, I didn't even really know how to hold the club. I still hold it like a baseball bat. I can't interlock my fingers. I have it got to the point where I was slicing everything. So then I started rolling the hand over, and then I was rolling it over too much and just hitting snap ground balls. And I'm like, dude, what is happening?
It's like a balancing board. The golf swing is you tweak one little thing and you think you're going to be good, but then it throws something else off. It's the equilibrium has to be. It took me about 5, 6, 7 years to get rid of my slice, because baseball is just not baseball's hands, and golf is not hands at all. Mm-hmm. It's really not unless you're on the green. So, man, that's frustrating. So I feel you there.
It was tough. I had one buddy, my buddy Neil, got to the point where he couldn't watch it anymore because he knew I was an athlete. He knew I was capable of it. And he's like, bro, just stop moving. Keep your foot. He stood there at one time and held my front left foot into the ground because I was picking it up like I was Kirby Puckett.
Yeah.
And I'm going to knock one out of the park.
You, when you go to the range or something, do you film yourself at all? Do you film yourself and look at your swing?
I just started really last season. I started like just filming my shots. Like I go out with one of the guys I play with on Sundays, my man Fairway Mike. We play probably 5 days a week, and he's an older
I
guy.
like that
So
name.
yeah,
Me
he's the
too.
best, man. He is literally a legend. There's one clip I have on Instagram where he's
We
telling
got an
a
OB
story,
mic.
and it's the
Similar
funniest.
but different.
Yeah, it's the funny. He's the funniest guy. 71 years old, retired truck driver. I mean, you guys
I
can
love that.
imagine the stories he's got for us. You know.
Those guys make money too.
Oh, he does good. He did good for himself throughout his career. For sure. He was down in Florida most of his life, and then came back up here. I don't know why, but he's got.
It feels weird. I will tell you, if you just get into it, it feels weird to film yourself and be that bozo who's like, I'm going to look at my swing, until you realize that unless you record it and then immediately watch it after you've made the swing to feel what it feels like and then see it, it's the real versus feel. It's made a big difference once I started doing that a couple of years ago, and now knowing it and seeing it, I can fix things a little quicker. So I think you'll like it. It's worth the time.
Yeah, so that's what we started doing. I just started really doing it last year, and like I can see certain things, like okay, my hands were too far in, or my hand was rolled over too much, or my hand was too open, or I bent my arm because I was trying to crush it, or stupid shit. Yeah, it's really just stupid shit.
Focus. It's all focus.
Yep. And I try to, you know, we indulge in the PEDs and the pitch putt and puff to make sure we're extremely focused out there and take a puff and get locked in.
Telling you, you don't want to be like I was telling you earlier. We can't be too focused or under focused. You got to find that sweet spot of focus.
That's it.
Magic happens. Gibby's seen it. He saw it not too long ago.
Yeah, so it was incredible.
So how'd you guys get into golf?
So I'll take that. I started as a caddy. Was my first job at Indian Ridge Country Club in Andover, Mass. I was 12 years old and I was like 4'8" and weighed 100 pounds. And the bag was like, the first bag I carried was probably 85 pounds.
Oh my God.
And it was the toughest $25 I ever made. And so I was doing that, and they used to have Monday caddy night. It was like Caddyshack. Like all of us 12 to 15-year-olds are going out on the course playing and just hitting grounders, trying to get like 15 shots on like a par 5. So that's where I first started playing. My dad didn't play at the time, and then after he retired, he started playing more. My brother's really good. One of my brothers, the other two don't play, and then it was just like a social thing. Like, hey, what do you want to do? Let's go to the par 3, and I played with our other buddy who's a regular on our show, Alex, and we had memberships together. So I would drive up like half an hour and play with him, at 7 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning, and get back to work at like 9:15 or work from home. And that's when I was playing a lot. I was playing like 2 to 3 days a week, and you need that consistency to get better. And the kids started getting older, had more responsibilities, and I've fallen off in the last 4 years, 5 years. And I'm feeling like this summer though, it's things were starting to click at the end of our golf trip. Not always, but
what a great sport.
It is.
It's like it's the hardest thing to be consistently good at that you can do. It really is. Like you're right, Gibby, because you put the time in before we left on that trip. You like went to a boot camp basically for just it's about getting the reps, but then also making sure those are quality reps, and you're teaching yourself something that you can replicate. And if you can just get it, it's so much of it is just like swing your swing, right? Like whatever it looks like. None of us have the same looking swing, but there's a lot of ways to get there. It's
because that's like me. I go out and play 5-6 times a week, but I don't go out and practice. I go out and play golf. I don't.
You're kind of practicing. You're practicing.
Right, but I'm not sitting there chipping for 45 minutes before I go. I'm getting out of the car from work, and it's where I'm on the box pretty much. You know? So it's like
if you can do that and get really good, you piss some people off. Just show up on the first tee and beat people. That would make them very mad. It's
absolutely.
I like that. My backstory is pretty similar to Gibby's. My grandfather played golf, and so he got me into it. He was a snowbird, so he'd go down to Florida in the winter. He used to work at the Honda Classic, and he had like a bunch of like D-list golf buddies down there who like on and off tour. And so I was always around it. I enjoyed it. I played it growing up intermittently, and then played in high school as sort of like a buffer to get me to like winter and indoor track and basketball before I played baseball, because I didn't play football. I didn't play a fall sport. And my high school played golf at a private course in Massachusetts. That's like one of the nicest courses. So like a course I would not have access to. So I said, hey, I'm going to go join the golf team and just play. I mean, I didn't play that much because I was a baseball player. So it was very random that I would square the face up and actually play consistent enough. And like, I spent so many years after that doing the same thing over and over again. And then I moved a bunch and just like, it wasn't a huge part of I played sparingly. And then I'd say over the last like 4 or 5 years, I've played a lot more, just trying to play consistently and like make progress and get better. Cause it's frustrating to like either play bad golf a lot or just play like intermittent good golf sandwiched around a bunch of bad golf. It's like, it's like, I'm going to do this. I want to try to get better.
I would say since we did I started joining the golf trip and now this past year, there were 16 of us. I think it started like with 4, with 8, with 12, but and we're on a text chain that goes year round, and any given time you walk away from it, you might like for an hour, you might see 100 text messages. And
it's what keeps you moving.
It does. So I think there's some motivation there. Like you don't want to embarrass yourself. You want to play your best in front of your buddies that you've been talking about a trip for a year with, right? And like, people are member guests together, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that helps too. It kind of keeps everyone honest. And there's one guy, it kind of reminds me of you. He started like 2 or 3 years ago, actually playing golf like consistently.
Mace.
And went from, a 24 handicap 3 years ago in Pinehurst to now he's like 12. And he's the proud winner of a Gibson Grinder Award from.
He did win a grinder. I want to see how many rounds he played last year.
Yeah, I know it's impressive. So I think it's fun to see people from different walks, right? Like those that have been dialed in all winter that were practicing, they're chipping, they're putting in their garage or at Top Golf or whatever. So, but it's such an awesome game, and there's always an opportunity to get better too, right? Like
always. That's something. Even if you got one thing clicking, like something else might not be. So you got to go work on that. And that factor too, where it brings people together. Like I was talking about Fairway Mike. He's 71 years old, man. Like I would have never been playing golf hanging out with Fairway Mike. Other than that, now he's like one of the people I'm closest to in my life. Like he's literally a guy I could pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Mike, I'm broken down on the side of the road. Where are you? I'll be right there." Like that's the type of guy he is. You know, it's like, and that's awesome that I met someone like that. I wish I met him 20 years ago. I would have been hanging out with him, doing God knows what.
I mean, it's the best sport to play as you age because you can stay proficient at it and you can kind of like bake it into some other stuff that you like to do that doesn't require you to be running around. Although Gibby did some running around at our last golf trip and you got yourself a Gibby's grinder with that effort, I think.
So, oh boy. What's a Gibby's grinder? Tell us what a Gibby's grinder is.
We had the final night of the trip. We had
think of them like Tommy points.
Yeah, it was like Tommy Heinsohn's Tommy points. It was like Michael Scott's Dundee's, the Dundee Hordes. It was kind of like that. And so people got upset over MVP votes and Gibson's grinders, and there might have been some consumption happening. And there's a rival that I have on the trip, Jesse, and we had talked about doing like a Rocky Apollo race on the beach. And it didn't materialize, but after the dinner, we decided to run a 40-yard dash, and he will submit that wasn't what he agreed to. He said it had to be on the beach. It had to be 100 yards.
Yeah. You idiots.
And so I won the race, and he was fine with it until like half an hour later, and people were ribbing him because he's a runner. Right.
Okay.
He's a competitor. He is the guy who does not want to lose to you. If he's doing it, he wants to win it. Every single thing he's doing.
Yeah.
And so this one stung. Yeah.
That's my co-host JR. He's on his way back. This poor kid. I can't wait for him to get back so we can hear it on the podcast. But he was stuck on the tarmac for 6 hours here in Albany. And then he's going to Colorado. So he got delayed. It ended up in Texas. That flight he missed. So he had to stay there for 8 hours and then finally caught a plane, got to Colorado, but now he's delayed in Texas. He's supposed to be home like right now, but he's still in Texas. So
yikes.
He's got to be at work at 7 in the morning. We'll see what happens.
That sounds like a Boeing situation. Boeing. If it's a Boeing, we ain't going anymore.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's pretty political, Gibby. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So that's one thing we don't touch on the show is we don't touch politics. There's
Gibby's
no
scared of us getting canceled.
wanna
And I
get
said, I don't
It's
even.
tough though. It's tough because I had the same conversation with my guys, like politics and religion. You just stay away from it. It's just a safer conversation.
I also don't care about either of those things. So,
Yeah.
like, what we do, a lot of what we do is if we're
Yeah,
not
tell us
learning.
about what you guys do. That's my next
Yeah.
question. What is the one night in Pinehurst all about? Because I see a bunch of different shit on there.
It's so the beginning, the origin of the show was not ever to stay in one place. It was to see if we could have a bunch of conversations with people from different walks of life to learn about what their life is like.
Okay.
Whatever that may be, right? Work, life, job, where they live, etc. And I think there's a sports foundation to the podcast. Like we don't stray that far because that's our bread and butter. But I think the goal of it, to your point a minute ago, was like, we want to have some conversations with some people who we don't know anything about the subject so that we can learn, because it kind of forces the emotion. So it was meant to be like fireside chats with a bunch of random people from all walks of life to see what the hell they got going on. I mean, Gibby was the architect of that.
No, I would say it was a breakneck pace initially. We were trying to do 2 shows a week, and like I felt like empty this week because we had,
I know, which is good,
last week, and then we had one show that our guests couldn't make, and so it's like, oh my gosh, we haven't been on for like a week and a half, where we would put out 2 shows a week, and the first one during the week was going to be just like Maddie said, like a fireside chat from all walks of life. We were focusing on like sports, on
food, music, finance,
all of those things, and like actually entrepreneurs too. Because we wanted to find people that were super passionate about specific topics, and we did, and people would like come to us and they'd want to tell their story, which was incredible. And then the second show in the week, because we started in the fall of 22, and it was fantasy football related, and we started our first show. I remember it was like a late night, and we were texting. It was like right before Labor Day weekend, and it was about Trey Lance, the quarterback for Dallas now, right? And I was like, we don't know if he's not good. And Maddie's like, no, we know he's not good. And I was like, no, well, he hasn't played in 3 years. We don't know yet. We haven't seen
That's
him.
why we know. That's the thing. All right, quick rant, Gibby, because we're in draft season and we're about there now. The evaluation of these guys coming out of school is one thing. Their fit and where they land, the nature versus nurture, ends up making the rest of the difference. Talent won't win out. So yeah, he had all the raw tools in the right system. I mean, he was never a fit for the Shanahan system because it requires timing and reads. Like, that's not what he does. He just chucks the ball. He's like Fields. But you put him on a team where he would have played, he would have just been Fields. There's either going to be guys who can play or there's going to be Fields. That's the only denominator anymore. Like, that's what it is. So
many college guys are based, stay in college football quick, but college guys are based off of the system. If you translate that system into the NFL, they're not going to be successful.
Quarterback especially, that's the hardest. Like receivers can make it work, but not quarterback, which is the most important position.
And I'm a Giants fan, so sitting there, like, I'm the big Miami Hurricanes fan. I watch a lot of ACC games. So watch Daniel Jones play for Duke for the couple of years he did. There was never one point in time where I was like, oh, this dude's a first-round pick, no doubt about it.
Right.
Like, I would have looked at Miami's Brad Kaya from a few years back and said, oh, he's a first-round pick over.
Yeah, he looked the part. Yeah,
opposed to looking at Daniel Jones. And then you see the guy running down the field, 80-yard run, and he trips and falls over himself. It's like, well, first off, the Giants kept Eli 4 years too long, and that's why they're in the situation they're in right now. And I did not watch one game all year. Like, I didn't even turn it on. Just came
Gibby's a diehard Broncos fan. I've been a Patriots fan my whole life, but I think you guys are, if you guys could get this draft sorted out and Dayball gets another year.
Yeah, I don't
know though. Like, he's good, right? But it's the front office. It's the front office, but he's good, but it kind of seems like guys don't love playing for him, or is that just because there's nobody there?
Like, I don't know if it was the other coaches, right? Wasn't it like Wink?
The defensive coordinator packed up his office and left, and he was like, we didn't even fire her. He's like, yeah, I'm just all done. I don't want to work here no more.
You guys, real quick, and we'll move off of this because we could go on a big old tangent. What are you looking for them to do? Trade, stay and take a quarterback, stay and take a receiver, neighbors? What do you think?
You got to stock up. You got to get draft picks. You got to build.
I think so.
We're
trade
already
back.
we're already at the bottom. We're already at the bottom. They're already talking Daniel Jones as the starter because who just came in? We just got the
Let him play
quarterback.
the year.
Oh, Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Oh
we just
boy,
did
here
Drew
we
Lock.
go.
So,
I walked right into this
but
one.
yo,
Damn it.
he's better than Daniel Jones.
I thought he was in the draft.
Walking out the front door today with
I mean, that's a low bar.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's better than what we have. Like I would have took Tyrod all year last year, but now they're already telling him, "Oh, it's Daniel Jones's job. Make this kid earn it. He hasn't done shit to earn the job. Make him earn the job."
Yeah,
like that's
you're in a good spot for a trade down for sure. Like
absolutely,
somebody's going to need to go there to get JJ
McCarthy. Come calling with 11-23 and get
a future.
We need O-line. Oh, get the
11-23 and a future first to go from 5 to 11.
Yeah, something. Got to do something.
6 to 11. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was
excited.
just going to say about the show. Like we just kept going, and then we're like, oh, let's try this out. Let's try that out. And like, so Maddie and I worked together, but not really together for about like 4 years or so. And then, but we knew of each other, but we weren't like hanging out. And then we went to golf trip in Scottsdale, played a little bit, but like there were 12 people there. Right. And it was the first time I met 10 of them or 9 of them. So, getting to know people. And then the reason we called it One Night in Pinehurst, and it was a working title for a while. We're like, let's find a better name. And so there was one night on the trip we had a couple of years ago in Pinehurst that was just everything. We were at the Cradle at Pinehurst and like the par 3 golf course, and it was mayhem. People just betting on these 12-year-olds.
So much fun. What a special, magical place.
I got lined up for my first gig with the guitar. And I'm not a guitar player, and they didn't plug me in. So I'm just sitting there.
Imagine how different life would be if you did get plugged in. Would this podcast even be?
I don't know. And I mean, I'd probably be on the road with Stanley and Phyllis or whoever they were.
The people from The Office? That wasn't his name.
No, and then there's, some malfeasance. One person, we were, probably like 100 yards away from the house and decided to get an Uber.
100 yards.
3 miles from the house. And so we're chasing him around. So it was mayhem. And so that name like rang a bell for me. And then, we kept going. And I think the most fun part, and I don't know if the same is true for you, and I'm curious, like what part of doing the show that you like best. For me, it's both connecting with like old friends that I think would have a really fun take on it. And whether they're Maddie's friends that now I'm like, buddies with virtually. And then also just like some of the stories and getting amped up for certain guests too, right? Like you have a show and, we've done probably 5 or 6 musicians we've had on, and finding them on Spotify and like listening to their album.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is good. This is the real stuff. And so I don't know. So those are some of the favorite parts. And then it's a hobby too. And it's hanging out with Maddie for 40 minutes or 35 minutes.
We said to each other at the beginning, we're at 147 episodes now.
Okay.
And we said, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Consistency is key. Like you have to make sure you don't just like miss months and try to come back to it. And I told him and we told each other, if it ever felt like leading up to a podcast and during the day, we were like, like dreading it. Like it's a chore. Then it's not worth doing. And we've done 147 of these, and I could probably honestly say it's only happened like once, and maybe because I was sick and just like
I think it was just like either traveling or like
whatever, right? It's like such a and so that for me is the most fun. Like it's like I look forward to doing them, and so that's enough for me, even if it doesn't go anywhere.
That's the same with me. I don't know if you guys seen the clip when I was on Upstate. Anthony, we were talking about microphones and shit. Anthony was like literally trying to get us a Joe Rogan setup. And I was like, bro, like, and that's the thing. We never got into it. Like, I haven't been on, besides posting on like the app we use for the network, I haven't looked at how many downloads I have. I don't even like, I'll peek at it occasionally because obviously I want to know the analytics.
Yeah, you're curious.
But it's not like he was going and like looking first thing in the morning. I'm like, bro, I couldn't even tell you how many downloads I got. I know I got an interview at 2:00 today with this person, and I'm like, excited about it, because there's certain people, like I'm a big conspiracy guy, so I listen to Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli, right?
And
XG. He's the co-host.
Okay.
I had him on the podcast. I got a chance to meet him in where were we? Connecticut. I drove out to Connecticut my birthday weekend. Tripoli, XG, and Eddie Bravo were performing, so I went out and got to see the guys. XG already, his other podcast, We Don't Smoke the Same, was kind of like helping me out and let me be like affiliated, where they were sending me little care packages kind of thing. I was saying the show was brought to you by We Don't Smoke the Same. And I built a relationship with those guys. But like I reached out to them just to build the connection of like, hey, do you guys care if I shout out your podcast on mine? Yeah. Like first thing they asked me, what do you want for it? I don't want nothing. I just want it to look like I have some backing when I first got off the ground.
Credibility and
So but then it turned into like, now I have a relationship with these guys. So I got a chance to have him hop on. I talked to him. I was like, bro, I need 20 minutes of your time. Before you know it, it's like an hour in. Then we're talking 20 minutes off air. And I'm like, yo, I listen to you every single day on 3 different podcasts. I'm sitting here having a conversation with you. Like, to me, it's outlandish, because if you told me a year ago I would have done that, I would have told you you're nuts. You know, like
you get what you put into it, though, for sure. Like if you treat every guest like they are the most important person in the world in that moment, and you give them your attention and you lock in, you pull some pretty cool conversations out of people. And that's for me, the game is, I always tell this to Gibby, like if I can ask a really good question that forces somebody to pause and have to think about their answer rather than just regurgitating an answer they've given before in another place, then I feel like I've done my homework and also given it the proper due to make sure that people know, like, hey, you're spending these 20-30 minutes with us, like I'm not going to waste your time. I want to give you something that might be enriching in some way.
And there's been episodes where like I have a couple episodes, and I'll admit it, like I didn't do enough of my homework, and I was like, shit. And then I looked after the fact, and I was like, I even hit the guy up. I apologized to him. I was like, bro, I fucked up. Like I was rushing that interview. Like I apologize. If you want to come back on later down the road, there's a lot more we can talk about, kind of thing. And he was cool about it. But like I knew, like when I re-listened to it, I was like, I was off my fucking game on that one. But like you said, it's what you put into it, because at Christmas I had 140 followers. I was getting maybe 15, 20 listens an episode, and I was getting discouraged. I was like, shit, now the golf is over. What do I have to talk about? This and that. And then I had a conversation with a guy, Tyler from 4 Left, TYTV. I don't know if you guys ever see his shit. He was going to help me out with some digital stuff. And I was like, dude, I don't know how committed I'm doing this. And he said, I'll never forget. He goes, with a podcast, you're either all in or you're all out. You got to be fully committed. And then I sat back. I had a conversation with my wife because of the cannabis side and having a kid. I was like, I'm going to go all in on this. Like, are you cool with it? Because I'm going to go do video. I'm going to I'm going to get guests on. I'm going to have people in the cannabis field. Like I had Dero on. Like I shouldn't be sitting down talking to a platinum rapper. You know what I mean? Promoting his ice cream paint job. It's crazy. It's nuts. And like that relationship, like we have some stuff going on behind the scenes that could be huge for me. And it's like, wow, like it's unreal.
It's you. I think you said it earlier. We haven't even been recording yet. Like it's one big like networking community, and if you give it the proper respect, you get a bunch of that. People are. I think I said this earlier too. I'm shocked at how willing random people are that have a lot going on and are successful are to just jump on a random podcast with. Gibby's our head of talent. He books everybody. He's just like he'll shoot shots at anyone. He's trying to get like Guy Fieri. It doesn't even matter. Like whoever will wander into our little universe, we'll talk to you for a little bit and hope to give you something that isn't just like every other interview you've always done. And that's like the challenge that makes it fun.
And it's funny, you were talking about like the listens and the downloads and everything. Like, you know, there have been shows where afterwards Maddie and I will like text each other and we'll get off and we're like, that was crisp. That was a good show. That was a great episode.
You just know.
Or we got a bigger guest than, you know, just Maddie and I riffing on something. And like, oh, this is going to be a big hit. And then like, sometimes it's the best shows that do the least in terms of downloads, in terms of listens. And I'm like, are you kidding? This was like, this was gold. This was crisp. It was fantastic. And then there are other ones that just appeal to the audience. And so it's, I used to obsess over it, but like I would get excited now.
That's Anthony. That's Anthony from upstate. That's Anthony from upstate, man. I'm telling you, like he had Brandon from New Nine, the guy who's trying to get on the Master or at Augusta.
Oh yeah.
He had him on, and he posted the episode. And it was the Tuesday when like the internet went down and you couldn't get on Instagram and Facebook. So he's freaking out. He's calling me. He's like, Raj, what am I gonna do? I go, bro, I don't know, start calling out all your friends and tell them to listen. What are you supposed to do right now? There's
Yeah,
like
what you
nothing-
do?
Make a TikTok.
You get on your
account,
text
like,
chains with your buddies.
Yeah,
It's exactly
make
what
up
you do.
17 different accounts
and tell him.
Yeah.
And like he slowly like reposted some clips and this and that.
Yeah.
And he got some views on it, but it wasn't nearly what he thought he was going to do. But then he had someone else on promoting like a brand or something, and that one, boom, boom, boom. And I have
There's no rhyme or reason.
I noticed a lot of my cannabis interviews are getting higher numbers than some of my regular golf stuff. And I'm like, okay, is that the avenue that I'm going to start to go down? Like 420 is coming up. I'm going to do, I usually do 3 episodes a week and then drop a 4th occasionally if I have like a really cool guest. I want to get the episode out right away.
Nice.
But like I'm going to do 5 episodes that week, all cannabis, 1 a day, 30 minutes with each person, just pumping them out. I got some.
Yeah,
I love it, dude. That's what we did when we started. We were just like it was almost like every other day we were like, well, we better do another podcast. It was like we couldn't stop.
I mean, the biggest challenge with that too is like just, and to your point, Roger, like just doing the work on it too. And like, you know, doing the research and what questions am I going to ask? Like Maddie's a lot better at just, you know, being in the moment in the conversation. Like there are roads that I know I want to go down. So like I'm writing out a few questions in advance, you know, and especially on the shows where like it's a guest that probably leans towards my side of the world, you know, and so I want to, you know, make sure I'm prepared. But like, it's the best part about having a partner in this too, is like the second you're off, he knows, right? Like he knows when to jump in, and that's fun. That's when it's like really cooking. It's like, okay,
it is fun. It's fun. And you also don't like, I think we are like, collectively we comprise like a full human, because like you said, you love to prepare. Preparing is like what makes you feel good. It stresses me out in general in life. I like to just be in the moment. I make my best decisions, and I'm like more free in the moment. But you're right, Roger, to your point, and Gibby, you're right too. Like there are some guests we have on where I'm like, I actually don't know anything about their world. I need to dig in a little bit. I'm not going to be able to get away with just like finding it on the fly, Michael Scott fashion. So it's fun. It's like a challenge. It's a challenge for your brain to do this.
Yeah, can I tell you guys, I never watched one episode of The Office.
Oh, that's okay.
We had this debate.
I know who he is, but I never watched one episode.
Everybody has one show that you've never seen that everyone's like. Mine's Game of Thrones. Never seen that either. Oh, I like that. Okay.
So I don't watch. So like what everybody's watching, like when like there's the hot trendy thing, for whatever reason, I'm just not into it.
You're a contrarian.
Yeah, I just don't like Squid Games during COVID. I didn't watch one episode of that either.
Nope, I never saw it.
I find other shit to do.
Yeah, so we had a guest on. He's been on twice now, and he brought up the topic around like guilty pleasures, right? So we're talking about pop music. And his band, the band that he's in, he's the drummer for, has opened for Taylor Swift on a couple of her tours. And so we were talking about pop music, and he's like, it's not a guilty pleasure to like this. It's just my pleasure. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to feel any guilt over it. So we also had like the My Pleasure fantasy TV show draft, where we picked shows that like, you know, were just our pleasure to watch. And it was like the ranking of the best, or the best director, or the best written scripts. But so, you know, I think to that point, like it's just been fun to bounce around these different spaces. And it's like, hey, Maddie, we should do a show about this. Or do you think this would be fun? This is timely. And like, and I think that's one of the challenges too, because you mentioned, Matt, like it's gone in a moment, right? You listen to it. Most people are not going back and listening a second time or a third time, unless there's like a specific guest that they're in love with. And they
I don't even go back really and listen to mine twice. Like I'll listen to it once and I'm pretty much, all right, I got to figure out what I'm doing next.
I listen to ones that I feel in the moment like I didn't have my best stuff, to see if I can. It's kind of like golf with taking a video. I go back and I listen pretty quickly to see if I was right or wrong. And if I was right about it, then I try to find the moments where I just didn't have it and see if I can dial that up. And if I was wrong, then I use it as a little confidence boost that, hey, I'm actually not that bad at this, whatever the hell that means in the world. But it's fun. I like doing this, man. It's a good time. You challenge yourself a lot.
Yeah. And meeting new people, making new connections. Like it's really just, it's the experience of it, if anything, is cool. Like I don't expect to be, you know, making money off of it. I do have some things coming up potentially that I could be making money, which is great. But that money is going to go right back into this. It's going to be new microphones. It's going to be new cameras. It's going to be to that. It's not.
We're
like
at that phase.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to go and I'm going to get a Range Rover because I got a check from a golf network. Like it's
No.
not, you know what I'm saying? It's not me anyway. I'm a laid back dude. I just mind my own business and go with the flow for the most part.
That's what attracts people though too. Like we've had people on the pod, and then I've listened to other pods, and you can kind of tell there's no chemistry. The host or hosts, or I guess in this case has to be hosts, should have some chemistry. Like you should be playing off each other, like Gibby was talking about. We've become very in tune doing that. And then we have a third buddy who does basically half the year with us when it's football season, and he's in the same boat. Like we just, it's one voice. But it's really tough when you listen to a podcast and you can kind of tell that the guests are not building any chemistry with the host.
Yep.
It's not a good listen. It's just kind of like clunky. When it's more of a conversation, like none of this is here, and we're literally just sitting in a room talking, which is why originally Gibby and I were thinking about it being like a fireside chat where you're just quite literally hanging out by the fire and chatting with somebody. Gibby, what'd you say? It was something about weddings. You had a quote that I liked.
Yeah. So there was something, I thought about, like, and it was in tune with the guests that we had on initially, and like, a lot of entrepreneurs, but it was really about like, it's seeing old friends to a degree, even if you've never met them before, but it's the person at a wedding that you had 10 minutes to talk with because there are 140 people and 70 of them. And you only have 5 minutes to really chat and catch up. But having the opportunity to get like 30 minutes or 40 minutes with that person, 2-to-1 or 1-to-1, I think is, probably my favorite part of the show.
Yep.
That is the cool thing about it, because like I said earlier, getting XG on, like I had a company reach out to me about maybe running some potential ads on the podcast, and I didn't even know, they're like, give us some pricing. I didn't even know where to start. And I'm like, I literally sat in front of my computer, like trying to write this email, and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to put? And it got to the point where I was like, all right, who could I ask? And I have his number and I communicate with him on Instagram and stuff, but I don't like bother him, text him and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I literally, it was like 11 o'clock in the morning out there. I'm like, bro, I really hate to bother you with this, but I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody else. Like, you're the only person in my whole cell phone of 500 contacts I have in here that I could reach out to and ask about this. He's like, yeah, bro, this is awesome. No, and we like, our conversation was like about getting to the next level. So like when I called him and told him like, yo, I got a potential deal and some other stuff that I'm going, he's like, bro, this is awesome. This is what you should do. Gave me the whole breakdown. This is what we do for our podcast and so on and so forth. And I sent the email out, and I mean, it's so far so good. We're looking all right. But
you said like, earlier too, you're in sales, right?
Yeah.
So that's the common denominator here. We're on sales, and none of us are afraid to like ask, because you've been told no so many times. You said that at the very beginning when we were talking, like that's how Gibby feels when he tries to get guests. That's how I feel when I just randomly shoot my shot at guests. Like, no isn't going to really stop us because we've heard it so often. So I think this archetype tends to be more successful in podcasts because we're a little bit more assertive, I think.
Yep. Well, let me ask you this. Did you guys ever have like hit up a guest and then they ask you like how much you're going to pay them?
No.
We haven't had to pay a guest yet.
Surprisingly, it hasn't even come into my mind.
I just had that happen recently, and it was comical. Yeah. So like talking about shooting your shot. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in everybody. Like I guarantee in every person in the golf world or cannabis world, there's pitch putt puff is somewhere in their DMs. Right?
I love it.
So caddy issues. The redheaded chick who's always out there.
Oh, I've seen that.
So I hit her up. She gets back to me. I'd love to do the podcast, this and that. So like we're to the point we're setting up a date and everything else. And she goes, "Oh, we just got to talk about my fees or my dues." Or I'm like, "Oh, honey," I was like, "I'm such a small podcast. I'm not making money to spend money and this and that."
Right.
And I'll tell you guys off air what the price was. But
that's funny.
For 30 minutes, it was a little. I was shocked. But like I get it because that's what she's getting for 30 minutes of her time, unfortunately.
Right.
I have no problem with that part of it, right? Like if someone else is willing to pay you that, then great, you should ask for it. Yeah. I'm not going to be the one, or you're not going to be the one to pay them for it. But it's funny, I haven't even crossed my mind. Like we've had some people on that definitely aren't, like, maybe too, because it sounds like she's a content creator.
Correct.
So that's
their living. Yes.
That's how she makes her living. Whereas, like, if I'm asking Cal Ripken's son to join us, he's not asking to be paid. Like, that's what he likes to do. But he's not a content creator either. He's not like monetizing it necessarily that aggressively. So it's funny. You like think about it. Like I've never thought of anybody asking us to pay them to come on.
First time.
Gibby, has that ever come anywhere near happening to you?
No, it's never come across. And I think, the ones that I think like, there's the Patreon for musicians and, could that be interesting? Right. But I think for most of them, it's like out of the goodness of their heart and also like having content that they can share, that they can use like to promote themselves. Right. So I think it's, a symbiotic relationship. My thing is always like, look, we're still small. We're not, huge yet. We're not going to increase your followers. And I had a running joke with guys from Band of Heathens, or just Ed Jurdy, one of their lead singers. And right after, like the week after we did our first show with him, they were on the Today Show, promoting their new album. And I was like, look, one episode of One Night in Pinehurst got you on the Today Show. You performed at the Grand Ole Opry, and then I forget there was another one too that, similar story. And that we obviously had nothing to do with, but, I think you have to have humility doing it too.
Oh, absolutely. Like I laughed it off. I thought like when I'm messaging back and forth with her, I'm sitting there going, yo, this is crazy. Like I actually got a shot at getting this chick on here. Could be good for get some likes, get some views on this one. And then all of a sudden she hit me with that. I was like, damn. I was like, I don't think even if I was making money, I don't think I would pay for any guest, to be honest with you.
I bet you that's not common unless you are like a content creator like she is, who has like a brand and a page. Everybody else kind of just tends. And that's fine. Again, that's fine. I have no problem with her doing it. Like if I could do it, I would do it too.
Yep.
But there's a whole nother world of people who just like jumping on and talking, and they don't think about it, never crosses their mind, which is, to your point, I think that's like the lane that we'll probably want to swim in.
Yeah, and Roger, I'm not going to send the invoice for a while. Like,
no. It's interesting.
Gang Network check.
Jeff, get Jeff on.
Just forward it to them.
It has been an awesome group. Jeff has been super helpful, and
absolutely. Shout out Jeff, man.
Jeff's the man.
He's really smart, great guidance. It's all the stuff that you kind of know. It's like going through a sales training program.
It's experience.
You kind of know it, but until you hear it again, until you start to act on it, it's super helpful. And we had a joke. What was it? There wasn't anything that he asked us to do. He was like, nope, keep your intro, keep doing this, whatever. And I was like, no, it's like the Howard Stern boss from Private Parts, where it's like WNBC. But we're going to have Jeff on soon. And I joke around about that, but I wanted to play this whole, like, we're at odds a little bit.
Because the first thing you said to him when we jumped on is, you said this earlier, like, hey, we're not just a golf podcast. He's like, I don't really care. I was like, we were just kind of like, it's a little bit of what we do. And he was like, that's fine. We're like, all right, we're going to get weird. So if that's cool with you, then it's all good. But he's been great.
Well, because obviously you guys, you look at your name and you think, okay, Pinehurst, it's golf, right? So then like today, or was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I'm sitting at the in-laws house on the couch, just got done eating dinner, and I'm like, all right, let me do a little bit of research on the boys here, because I listened to, like, I think it was one of the Ripkins kid ones, a part of that one. And I was like, all right, let me do some research, see who you guys had on in the past and stuff like that. And I'm like, there's not anything about golf on here.
No, there's not a lot. It covers about 3% of our,
especially during football season. It's like we do one episode a week that's to build out a FanDuel lineup, and then the beginning of the week is usually just some random, like, we've got a lot of recurring guests now too. We've got a lot of people that we brought on, I think, multiple times, that we've tucked them into a theme, so they show up and it's the same type of show every time. It depends, right? It depends on what it is, but it's fun. It's like something to look forward to.
It's great. If you got guests that can be versatile in different topics, that just kind of makes it that much easier for you guys, and the headache of networking and finding someone. Oh, I need a good shit. It's Tuesday night. I need a guest. What are we gonna do?
Then the other part of that too is, right, like, you've already built the camaraderie and you've built like that connection with some of these guests. Like KJ was a former coworker of mine. Like, we get along great, and he came on one show, was awesome. He was talking more about his story, but he knows football. He played college football, right? And he's, fantastic. And we're like, yeah, you're going to come on to talk NFL draft, because he worked, as an intern with the Colts during like one of the scouting combine, right? And so And also he follows college football religiously. But
well, his little brother's a junior at Ohio State. He's their second cornerback. He's their number 2 cornerback.
Fuck Ohio State, man. I got eight today. Because I'm a Hurricanes fan. They got us in 2002 on that bullshit pass interference. So
they get.
Was that the Ken Dorsey year?
That was the Ken Dorsey senior year.
Yeah.
They were undefeated up at Maurice Coleret, ran in the touchdown. And
that was like triple overtime, I think, right?
I think, double overtime, yeah.
Okay.
I want Miami to be – I've always wanted Miami to be good.
It's great for college football.
It is. But, like, why the hell can't they get kids there? Like, what is missing?
Well, what's if you notice now, the SEC, well, Nick Saban just retired because now it's a level playing field. It's a transfer portal, and they can't drop off those duffel bags on the front porches anymore.
Everybody can drop them off now.
Now everybody can drop a bag. So, like, if the schools are doing it right, like Miami got the first year, Miami got investigated right away, and come to find out,
Urban and all those guys, yeah,
and actually we weren't doing nothing wrong for once in the 30 years I've been a fan. But like with that, I got April Fool's today, so I seen something that. Oh, the NCAA's looking into the refereeing crew of that night and this and that. I'm like, oh, shit, no way. I mean, it's 20 years later, but I'll still take that dub all day. That was a win. And I sent it to my buddy who's a Canes fan. He goes, bro, it's April Fool's. I'm like, fuck, man, they got me. They got me good. I was really excited about it for a second, but it's been since that game, though, for us, it's been downhill.
I know.
And Ohio State just went up.
I've got I used to live in Colorado, and I've got 3 buddies who I'm still close with that live out there. And one thing that we pledged to do when I moved home like 10, 12 years ago is we have 2 drafts a year, one for college basketball, one for college football. We have to do them live. We get together, we turn it into a whole weekend. Nice. You pick teams. Everybody picks 20 teams, college football teams, and then there's a bunch of stats and data that adds up, and you put a bunch of money in a pot. Okay. And every year, somebody talks themselves into taking Miami anywhere from the 3rd to 6th round, just because everybody wants them to be good. Yep. And without fail, maybe every 4 years they'll win 9-10 games out of nowhere, and it's like totally fine. But then there's always years where they're like 5-6 going into the last week, and they just got to get one more.
Bowl. Like I got to see them.
It's crazy.
They were so bad. They played the Pinstripe Bowl this year against Rutgers. I got to go down to Yankee Stadium and see them play.
Yep.
I've been to more Pinstripe Bowls to see the Canes than I have the Yankee games down there.
Yeah. It's I've seen them. I live 10 minutes from BC. So whenever they come to town, if they've got a good team and they're playing well, I'll go over there and watch.
I've been
to
the last football. three games at BC. I've been up.
Okay. Yeah. We'll need to next time they this fall we'll have to do something.
Do it live.
Yeah,
like that. Do it live.
Anthony would love to do that too. If you guys even want to meet halfway, play around the golf on a weekend, we could definitely set something up.
Yeah, love it for sure. That'd be sick. See, this is how it happens. This is how it happens.
This is it, because we got a couple big tournaments. Like we're doing a back to school tournament, pitch putt and puff, upstate golf guys. We had a local councilman on that podcast talking about it. And then I got a cannabis cup with some local growers and distributors that I'm doing up here. So I'm working on some shit behind the scenes, man. It's just a lot trying to keep everything organized. And I never used my calendar on my phone until the past like month and a half. I'm like, all right, what am I doing today?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Gibby does most of it. He's our social media coordinator. He's just, he's taken more of a liking to it than I have. So I try to pick up slack in other places. Yep. But the cool thing about this is if you put the work in, you kind of see the rewards instantly.
Yeah.
There's instant gratification where like, if you put a little bit of work in, that's the drug of it, right? You look at Megaphone and it's like, oh, we had X amount of downloads this time. Last time we had this many. It's like, what did we do? It's a fun way to try to get better at something without knowing really what we're doing.
Do you ever go back and listen to the first couple?
I have. Just to confirm that we had no idea what we were doing. The audio was just like a disaster. We actually, the first like software we used way before StreamYard was, and I've literally forgotten the name at this point. Zencaster. And it just like,
it kept
breaking. It was 3. We didn't know. It kept breaking. Like it didn't record we'd like finish episodes and there'd be nothing. And like we had a pretty good laugh. Like the first like 6 or 7 we did was like pretty touch and go because of that. And then we just went to Zoom and it was fine.
Yeah, we just got our microphones like figured out like literally last week. We've been having such technical difficulties with like, because we got new mics and then we thought it was the mics. And then like where we were getting an echo. And then some guys weren't getting an echo. And then it was like, all right, why are you not getting an echo? And then like when we go in studio, it's such a pain in the ass because some guys like my man Fairway Mike, he was to the point where this guy's 70, so he goes to bed at like 9 o'clock. I got him out there. It's 10:30. We're recording, and he's laying on the couch and he's got the microphone on his chest. And I'm like, Fairway, they can't hear you, dude. He's like, hey man. He's literally he's the best. He's such a character. I love the guy to death. But it's like
some people don't get the vibe, like the flow of it and how it works though.
Yep. So like half the episode you can't hear him. So I tried like in the audio I recorded off my phone to like cut it in. I was like, this is a mess. Like this episode sucks. Like I might as well just scrap it. But there's so
that's why we never edit.
Yeah. So much funny shit.
We refuse to edit.
I don't think I've gone that far back and re-listened. Like there might be one that I'll go back to like a month earlier, right? Or and what I find myself doing more often is looking at some of the clips as I'm like looking through and I'm like, oh, this is a good clip, or like, oh, I can recreate this idea. And so and that's the fun part for me is actually like 90% of the shows I don't actually listen to that we record. But when I'm cutting up like 1 minute clips to use for social media, that's when I'm going through and like listening, watching, etc. And so I'm making sure like, okay, where's the right point? So that's
when I know. I start getting texts from you. They're almost like time stamped as you're listening to the episode and remembering it.
That's great.
So I think that's the fun part. But no, this is awesome.
You said you had some questions for me you wanted to ask. What do you got?
Yeah. So where do you plan on going from here in terms of the show? Like where, do you want to take it? Do you want to, keep focusing on golf? I know cannabis is important for you too. And like, what are you picking a lane or are you just seeing where it takes you?
I did the whole pitch putt and puff was like, we called it the, instead of the live tour, they were calling it the RGB tour for the first like year we did it. And I was like, yo, I don't like that. I don't want it to be on me. Like it's all of us kind of thing. Like I don't like that. So that's when I was like, we had some mini golf course up here, did like a putt puff weekend. And I was like, all right, I got to change that up a little bit, but I want to catch you like that. So I made it the pitch putt and puff through the podcast in there. And then like, I was like, all right, I need a logo. So I literally created that thing like off of clip art. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I got to get upgraded right now. Shout out Chili Millie. That should be done hopefully soon. Some chick a graphic designer out of California did a bunch of work with Tinfoil Hat, and we don't smoke the same, so she's hooking me up. Another XG, working the connections of those guys out there and getting hooked up with her kind of thing. But it's to the point now where I had 140 followers at Christmas. I'm about like 5 away from 1,500.
That's incredible.
Right now.
That's really good.
But it's the grind. So I literally have to make the commitment to continuing the network. I haven't even posted golf content. So where's it going to go from here? I'm going to be doing a little bit of traveling to play with some guys I've had on the podcast. Definitely want to get out with you guys being so close right in the Massachusetts area. So I'm going to do a little bit of both, man. I'm going to try to get like 420 week. Like I said, it's going to be strictly cannabis guest. And it's going to be I got some hitters lined up if everything goes as planned. So that should be pretty cool. But I'm going to go on the golf side too. So I'm going to go like talk about the pitch putt and puff, talk about our round, get the guys on to do like a recap on Sunday nights to post for Monday. And then Wednesday, I'll have a guest on and post that episode. Like when I'll have, Tuesday night, I'll have a guest on, post it Wednesday. We'll go to the studio Wednesday and I'll drop it Friday. So it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right now I have the time. Cool. So I'm trying to get as much exposure as possible for now.
So I always ask, when we were starting out, I asked Maddie this a few times, but like, who would be your dream guest? I know we've had a couple that were like, if we get Guy Fieri on, if we can do, diners, drive-ins, and dives, we can retire the next day, even if we don't make $1.
Man, I didn't even really thought of that. Probably this is going to be crazy, but I'm a huge basketball fan. Growing up, I love hoop. And this guy just, he's in the golf now too. And he smokes is Jason Williams, White Chocolate. White Chocolate.
Oh, he's a golfer now? He's golfing?
He's golfing. Like you can go and like fly down to Florida and play around the golf with him and shit. and he's got like, dude, he's on some podcast. He's just a like funny dude. Like I feel like he's the type of guy if I was sitting in a room with and just smoking and chilling, like we would just be on the same like. Literally, the way he played basketball was exactly how I played basketball. To the point where my coach, we were playing against the number 1 ranked team in the state. I had a steal at half court. This kid went to Rice, Jason McCreath, was going to put my shot into the fucking rafters. And instead of that, I did like a 360 around him, and I laid it up off the backboard, and the dude caught it and dunked it. And we went on a 10-0 run. The next dead ball, my coach takes me out of the game. And he's like, that's not the time or place to do that.
Coaches hate it.
I'm like, are you looking at this gym right now? Like, we just went on a run.
The people are alive.
Like, he hated it because I was too flashy. Like, I was throwing the behind the back pass instead of the back pass. Like, but it worked. It got there. It still did the same thing. It looked good doing it. I mean, that's just how Billy Hoyle was out there. That's what I was doing.
I did the same thing playing baseball growing up. I like barehanded a ball at third base and threw a dude out on the run. It was, I don't even know. It was like, it wasn't even Babe Ruth. And my coach was like, he pulled me out of the game. He's like, we don't do that. I was like, what are you talking about? It's awesome. Yeah. Everybody loved it. It was great.
But it would be Jason Williams, White Chocolate, man. That's like,
dude, he's the best. I loved watching him play because he was like,
man.
It was like the one of the one guys somehow made his way into the NBA, but was actually good at everything. Yeah. Like he was dominant, and he just like did he get hurt, or is he just kind of like, I'm done with this?
He got hurt a little bit his back or his knee towards the end of his career. He won with the Heat, and then he went and played with Orlando, I think, one more year and retired after that. Yeah, but I'm a Heat fan because of that. Like I was a Kings fan. Like I followed Jordan. Then Jordan kind of left, so I started following him with the Kings. He went to Memphis. I was a Grizzlies fan. Then he went to the Heat, and then he retired, pretty much retired there. So Dwayne Wade, Pat Riley's from upstate New York, so I follow my man Pat Riley for the most part. But yeah, it would either be him, and if it had to be someone that passed, would be Sean Taylor from the Kings. That was my dude. That was my dude.
Yeah. He was sick too. He would have been a dude who could have played. I mean, well, they would have fined him every single play, but
every tackle
he would have been poor, but he would have still been able to make it.
Like before
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But that's a good question. I never thought of that until you just asked that. But it's
fun to think about, like what shows you want to do. I like daydreaming a little bit, and like what are the questions you'd ask? I find myself, I'm traveling for work.
That's a good question. I like that. I might steal it on you. That's a good one.
Cool. It's fun. It gives you a goal.
Absolutely. But I got 3 questions for you guys. Quick.
Let's do it.
Favorite club in your bag?
That's go ahead, Gibby.
I've got a 58-degree gap wedge that I tried to leave on 4 different greens the last round of 2023 because I didn't know what I was doing chipping, and but inside of like 80 yards, it's absolutely perfect for me. So or right around 80 yards. It can't be inside 50, but 60 to 80, I feel comfortable with it.
58.
Yeah, I mean, a wedge, any of my wedges. I got a 54, a 58, P and a gap.
Yep.
Anytime I'm hit, just to Gibby's point, if I'm hitting a shot with because I couldn't hit driver for so long because I was slicing everything, it was just like, get me off this tee and play. Yeah. I had to get really good from like 100 in, and that's what I worked on. And so 100 in, anything around the green, I love. Probably a wedge, 54, 58, because I love getting creative around the green and just like seeing how close I can get her if I can just stuff one in and not even have to putt. So that's nice. I get the biggest kick out of that. So probably I will say 54.
54, 58. I'd say my 7-iron just because it's my most versatile club in my bag.
That's a nice club. Yeah. You use it to chip too? You use it around the green?
I don't. I use a 52 around the green the chip, and then I use my 60 to get cute with it and cost myself a stroke or two.
A little saucy. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Exactly. What's your favorite course you ever played?
That's a good question. I will go with Sunday River in Maine, up in the mountains. Nice. We were playing this game with Chicago. I don't know if listeners know how it works, but really, like, based on your handicap, you start with a certain score, right? So like the low handicaps start at like a 20 or 25. I was the highest handicap on the trip, so I started with a 3. If you get a birdie, it's -2, so you're trying to go as low as possible.
Okay.
par is like 1, or I don't know, 2, 1, etc. Bogey or double bogey doesn't count for any points. And it was like the second hole, we're overlooking like the mountains. It was, fall, all of the colors in the world. And I was shooting for double bogey, so no points on the table. And I had a putt that like rimmed out. And so I said, all right. And someone was like, what do you want for that? And I was like, it's not a 7, give me a 6.5. It doesn't work that way. But yeah, but Sunday River is definitely one of my favorites.
Nice.
I was gonna say I'm tied between two. So Sugar Bush, similar setup as you just mentioned. Give me like Sugar Bush has a really good course and the views are incredible. I played a country club in Vail when I lived in Colorado, and I think probably because it was in Vail, so like it was way over the top to begin with for no reason at all. Right. B, it had all of that outdoor New England visuals, but like times 2 or 3 because it's just another world out there. Those mountains are so big. And the fact that you could just hit the ball, like the courses were all like 7,400 yards. But
that's
like,
right, because of the air and the elevation.
The air, you've never felt better than when you catch driver and the thing goes like 340 for you. Like
there's some like downhill drive.
Yeah, you can catch some downhills with the altitude, and it's like the ball just goes. So that was a fun experience because it was kind of like playing without gravity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I played down Slick Rock down in Texas, probably an hour and a half outside of Austin. I got a chance to play down there at my buddy's wedding was down there, and beautiful course. We played a scramble, but I mean, just the visual of the course and everything else was dope.
It's hard not to love it.
And then, what's one thing this upcoming season you want to improve on in your game?
Being able to not like stab at the ball and do weird stuff around the green.
Just chop it into the dirt.
Yeah, making motions that like should never be seen on a golf course. So no, I would just say being able to, not have to chip it multiple times when I'm inside of 20 yards.
Yep, same. The duffs, get rid of the duffs.
Yep.
Yeah. For me, it's actually like holistically just staying focused for an entire round, trying to like not give holes away by being upset that I didn't hit a perfect shot. Like very few golfers, even pros talk about this. They have like a dispersal of where they're looking to hit the ball and they never even hit it. Yep. And they're the best in the world and they play every day. So I'm trying to be a little bit more focused. And to me, that means not getting bent out of shape when I hit a bad golf shot because I suck at golf. I'm going to hit bad golf shots. Right. But like, don't let them compound into like 2-3 holes with a couple doubles and then your score's ruined. So for me, it's that. And then specifically on a micro level, it's continuing to dial driver in and hit more fairways. Because if I'm hitting fairways, I'm shooting in the low 80s. Like it's almost a guarantee because I put all that time in with my short game because I couldn't do anything else. So focus and driver are big for me this year for sure.
I hear a lot of people. I ask this question to everybody, and it's a lot of people are saying just staying completely like mentally locked in for 18 holes. Yep. It's a lot harder than people think, man. There's a lot of shit going on out there.
You got to commit to every shot.
There's always you get that one phone call on the course.
I know.
Or the text and
the text, or you're on Twitter or something, and it's just like it's so easy to not just give holes away, give shots away. Yeah. You give 5-6 shots away around, it can take you around from what could have been like really good to
Yeah. And the course we play at, the greens are tough. So like if you're not fucking paying attention and reading your line right and this and that, you're screwed.
You're 3-putting everything.
It's gonna cost
you. Out. Golf great, man. What a great game.
I really appreciate you guys hopping on.
Man.
I'm going for about an hour now, usually to max out here for the Pitch Putt and Puff listeners because they're probably sleeping by now, to be honest with you. Smoked out. But no, I really appreciate it. I'm definitely looking forward to get with you guys this summer. We'll figure out a weekend. We'll get together.
For sure, man.
I mean, you guys are not even, halfway is probably an hour for each of us because I'm right on, I'm probably 40 minutes from Lee, not even. So, we're right there. Springfield's an hour. Springfield's a legit hour for me. So, not far at all. I know Anthony and the guys go out to the Cape all the time. So, we could definitely plan something even around that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, man, love it.
You're coming back on, right? For Masters Week. You're coming on the other side of the fence, right?
A little reciprocal.
Yeah, with Anthony and them, I'll be on the Upstate Golf guys. Yep,
We're
I'll be back. Yeah, man,
it's gonna be fun.
What is
It'll
it?
be
It's
fun,
like
man.
April 12th or something. I think we're doing.
I think so. I'll double
Okay.
check and I'll get
Yeah.
back to you.
We'll have to
But,
check with our scheduler. Once we send you the bill, we'll talk with her.
Yeah,
We'll get
just-
through our people. You know.
Yeah, your people talk to my people. No doubt.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Where can they find you?
So One Night in Pinehurst. Find us on Instagram at ONIP O.N.I.P. I'm not that good at Twitter and not that good at Facebook as well. But
Yeah.
if you look at find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you can download any shows. Once we get to football season, you should see every Thursday or Friday a FanDuel lineup build. We try to return our investors 30% on their down payment, so decent ROI there. And we're going to be putting out some NFL draft content the end of this month, as well as some coverage of the Masters. So really excited. And check us out on Instagram, follow us there. And Roger, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for
good time, man.
Keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. You're well on your way. You're blowing us out of the water. So we're going to be following. We're going to be riding your coattails, man.
Hey, man, like I said, if anybody I can hook you up with, feel free to reach out.
Same.
Like, I'll put my cell phone number in the chat there, and we can go from there.
Perfect.
Love it, man. Love
awesome.
it.
Appreciate everybody
Thanks,
tuning
dude.
in. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Make sure you check out 420 Bliss, located 740 Hoosick Road, and also Trouble Off the Tee. Promo code RGB15. You can get 15% off on anything in his website. And buy one, get one free on the polos. Use promo code PUFF. Later.